our new motto, community focused, service driven, is something I truly believe in. Is we are in a field of service. We're not a for-profit agency. There's no quotas. We're not out, trying to pad our pocketbooks by writing more tickets or arresting more people. It's a career of service. And if we have good morale, good culture, then I think that we have a better product that we bring to everybody.
Welcome back to the Level Up Life, Muscle and Mindset Mastery. Got Waz with me here today, and we got a special guest, Midland County Sheriff Scott Holzinger. Welcome.
Thanks for having me, fellas. Appreciate it.
Sure. Yeah. So let's start with what made you, and especially for any kids out there, any youth listening, kind of tell me what directed you to become a police officer, and even more specifically, the Sheriff's Department.
So there was family history with my grandfather was a lieutenant with the sheriff's office, so that piqued my interest in his career. The biggest thing is I enjoy people. I enjoy being out and about, and the fact that every day is different, and being able to interact with people and hopefully make a difference in their life or whatever event that you had to deal with. So that's really what the appeal was to me, from a relatively young age. Is you see the police car driving, out on the county roads or whatever, and thought, that'd be a good way to live and work. So that's really in a nutshell what got me started with interest in this career.
Yeah. So, believe it or not, my background. So,
I do.
I actually considered. In high school, I think I was a freshman, sophomore. I think I want to become a police officer. And I think my willingness to help people and being people-centered, I think that would have served me well in the career. But, of course, I zigged when I could have zagged. Sure. And took a completely different route. Sure. But I think it's a really tough job.
Sure is.
And I've been on the wrong side of the law, and I know anytime I was arrested, I was respectful. It was basically like, all right, you guys got me, and accepted accountability from that point. But not everybody's like that.
No,
and even the general public, just citizens in general, I don't think. And we talked to Judge Beal about it. Like, I don't think the community really understands what our public servants, police, judges, the burden that they carry for the community. Because what happens when there's a accident in town and, stuff we don't think about, we don't see every day, that, can be traumatic.
Absolutely.
So you guys wear that. You
Sure.
guys take care of that for us. We don't have to see it.
Yeah. I mean, Western civilization, in the United States, we have a law and order society. And if you don't have that, you have chaos. Mm-hmm. And, in speaking for my office, in the Midland County Sheriff's Office, 90, if not more, % of our staff reside, raise families, obviously work in this community. And we want this community to be safe and a great place to live, just like you do. Mm-hmm. And, somebody's got to do this job. The uniform has to be filled by somebody. So, I hope for the younger generation who, is entering into adulthood that, they give this career a thought and an opportunity, because somebody has to do it. It's just not going to go away. It's taken its licks over the years, unfortunately, sometimes rightfully so, but more times than not, people make mistakes. We're human just like anybody else, and it doesn't mean that, it needs to ruin their life or, ruin their career or anything like that. So it is a tough job, and especially with the advancements in technology, I'm sure you guys are aware of body cameras, mm-hmm. In society, and you see the videos online. that people are just out there waiting for an officer or a deputy to screw up so they can make them famous, so to speak, on social media. And imagine, if your daily lives as trainers, that you had a camera strapped to your chest, and every interaction that you have with your clients, or the public was open for being scrutinized. And it's tough. That's one of many reasons that this career has changed and is challenging. And I won't get into all the boring details of FOIA and Freedom of Information, but it's tough because I'd say that one of the things that makes Midland great is the community supports us in law enforcement. Not just the residents, but city council, the board of commissioners. We're supported and feel that support. Are there people in the community who don't support us? Well, most definitely. I'm not naive to think that doesn't exist. But, don't make an already challenging job even more challenging. Mm-hmm. If we get called to something, just be respectful, go along. It's okay to raise questions, raise your argument, not your voice. Mm-hmm. And you're going to get treated with respect, and hopefully things will work out.
Never got the point of trying to get more charges
added
on. Right?
Yeah.
Like, well before you were in the position you were in, 12 years ago when I was locked up in that other place. I mean, how many times I wanted to SWAT and beyond SWAT people. Like, man. Thinking it through and going, I don't need anything else.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, some of the deputies are still there, and I was always cool. They knew I wasn't in and out. And, well, my sentence, thank God, I was actually 2 weeks in, 2 weeks work release. I was working in the oil field, and that was new for them and hard for them to navigate. And one deputy that was really cool, and we could always talk. I think he was interested in the oil field and how bad I wanted to get tased. And he's like, dude, you're going to get another case. And I'm like, no. He's like, I can't do it then because, man, I have always wanted to, so we'll have to arrange something.
Yeah, well,
there.
that's
I'll be a
it's
test
been
dummy.
a lot of years since I had that done, and it's an interesting feeling versus pepper spray, which was horrible.
Yeah, I'm good on that.
That was back in the police academy, but being tased is a different feeling. So, and we prefer not to use any of that stuff if we have to. But that's yet another thing that's changed in the career is tools that are available to our officers and deputies to try to de-escalate a situation. I mean, most definitely we don't want to have to go, a route of lethal force for obvious reasons. So it's nice to be able to have those tools that are in between verbal commands and going, right to where we, have to draw out our sidearms or something like that. So from when I started in 2003, to now, that has just changed exponentially, and I'm thankful for that.
Yeah.
So you guys all have to be pepper sprayed and tased to use those correctly, or correct?
Well, so our office doesn't carry gas or OC spray. That was a police academy thing. We don't make somebody experience a taser in order to carry it, though. However,
okay.
There's obviously training that they have to go through and be able to qualify with it and show that they can utilize it properly, but we don't make them be tasered. No.
Yeah, because you guys carry an inherent risk to your physical safety in the job. So, I mean, I never was violent towards police. Whenever I had interactions or I was being arrested, it was, I'm obeying. If they say on your knees, hands behind your head, I'm right away, because, I mean, what am I going to do, run?
Yeah.
I'm going to get caught eventually, so.
That's really changed, unfortunately, I think, over the years, the past few years for sure, with the influence of social media and certain groups saying, always challenge the police, challenge them. And there's a difference, the First Amendment is, in my opinion, first for a reason. And, like we were talking before we started the show today, is people need to be able to have a voice. And again, raise your argument, not your voice. You can have open dialogue, if an officer or a deputy is on scene, and you're entitled to ask questions and, push back a little verbally without screaming and yelling and causing a stir and all that. We're not just saying that we show up and you have to shut down and or anything like that. So there's just a time and a place for it. And, I'm a firm believer in our system and due process. And unfortunately, sometimes things need to play itself out in court. And, but you will get your day and your chance to do that. So, but starting things off and, fighting, whether it's physically or, like I said, screaming and being crazy isn't going to help the situation get better.
Yeah.
And
I want charges dropped.
Yeah.
As the process goes along, I don't want, here I was picked up for this and I'm going to get belligerent. Let me see if I can add 3-4 more things on there. Because I'm 10 foot tall and bulletproof and just dumb as shit.
I've seen a lot of people come in when I was in jail that I had a probation violation, but I picked up a fleeing and eluding and a resisting and obstructing in the process because of that.
Yeah.
So, and those are felonies.
Yes.
So now you're adding to what you're already serving for. So it's typically a lot, like my experience, it wasn't to where the dialogue wasn't necessary because I had a bench warrant. So it was just like, we're here to get you no matter what. So that's where I was, hands behind my head, whatever I was directed to do. And just trying to, I was raised in a home where I was taught to be respectful. And as much as after the fact in my head, I like to deflect blame. I guess that was just a coping mechanism for me, but the officers from each time I've ever been arrested, they were arresting me because something I did. They're just doing their job, right? So I try and it's given me an even greater respect for the job.
Yeah, I talk sometimes about displaced anger, that because we are, sometimes the bearer of bad news, like, okay, you're under arrest, that anger gets turned to us, that it's our fault.
Right.
And, it's just simply not true. And, one of the most important things in this career, and now in my position as the sheriff, as we look, and we hire new people with retirements or people leave or what have you, is the ability to communicate and, the ability to de-escalate a situation because you can speak to somebody, whether it be, doesn't matter your socioeconomic status, your gender, your race, or anything. If you can talk to people, a lot of times you can de-escalate a situation just like that, and without, having, bigger problems. But then there's different things that are into the equation, alcohol, somebody who's highly intoxicated or under the influence of drugs, and that obviously will impact, their thought process and decision making in an instant. And, so we're constantly training and, trying to find new and better ways to carry out the job. But like I said, without law and order, you have chaos. And I think, unfortunately, we have seen that across the country in certain places to, show proof of that. When you back off and, just try to let society police itself, it just doesn't work. No, unfortunately. You have to have law and order.
Yeah.
So shifting gears, new attire. I remember all the sheriff's deputies, the entire sheriff's department having brown. What was the thought process, and why'd you guys go to black? Yeah, so I guess I'll say the history of most sheriff's offices, certainly around the state of Michigan, is brown. So there's an issue with the old brown pants that we have being available in the future. I don't know if they are or aren't anymore, but that kind of opened the door to possibly make a change. And, I spoke to the staff, talked to the guys, about what they like, what they didn't like about the current uniforms, the heavy polyester that don't breathe, and those, hot 100-degree summer days and stuff. So I thought it was time for a change. And I actually saw this uniform from the Ingham County Sheriff's Office, has this similar black with the ghost gray, it's called, and thought it looked really sharp. And, change can be difficult, but change can also be a morale boost and be good. And, I thought it was time, and it seems well received. It's completely different, obviously color and look, but completely different material, and they seem to like it. So
that's awesome.
I think it looks sharp.
How was it when you're outside in July and August?
With the black now?
Yeah.
I didn't hear many complaints about it. Obviously it's going to be hot still.
Oh, yeah.
But I think it was more of the material change.
Yep.
Is the pants they're wearing now are completely different what they wore in the past. I mean, these were the old pants were full polyester. I mean, no breathing, no air getting through them, and they're miserable to wear. So they may not be telling me because I handpicked these out, and they don't want me to know. But I haven't heard so far.
Yeah, I was gonna say
any issues
there'd
with
be
them.
rumblings that you would for sure. There's always. Well, I don't care what job, what line of work.
Yeah,
I
I'm
mean,
not naive to think I'm going to get 100% buy-in on every single decision I make.
Yeah,
That's
oh, yeah.
okay.
But
The fact that you said you went around and asked the guys and gals what they liked, what they didn't like, that's the hallmark of a true leader. Yeah.
Well, it's one of the first things. It's a staff audit, right? You obviously go through and audit your patrol cars, your firearms, your ammo, and all of that. But you also need to do an audit of your people and what works and what doesn't work. You may have heard me when I was campaigning, and something I believe to this very minute is culture and having a championship culture, because I do feel it starts with me, and I have to set the tone for the office. And if we can get that championship culture, then I think we have a better product that we deliver to people, our constituents and our residents and taxpayers and visitors. And, it's not us versus you. We're here to serve. Our new motto, community focused, service driven, is something I truly believe in. Is we are in a field of service. We're not a for-profit agency. There's no quotas. We're not out trying to pad our pocketbooks by writing more tickets or arresting more people. It's a career of service. And if we have good morale, good culture, then I think that we have a better product that we bring to everybody.
Your staff's in a better place to interact with the community too.
Yes.
So
yes, that's my ultimate goal and hope. And, I think almost 10 months in, so far so good. The feedback I get is mainly positive. Again, like you said, Waz, I'm not naive to think that everybody is going to buy in and love every idea I have or anything like that. But, so far so good.
now let's take a moment to thank our sponsors, Pine Haven Assisted Living. At Pine Haven Assisted Living, they believe in making every resident feel at home. Nestled in the peaceful countryside of Hemlock, Michigan, they offer compassionate care in a family-like environment where residents can enjoy independence with the support they need. Registered nurse-owned and operated, their team provides personalized care, home-cooked meals, and a range of activities to ensure your loved ones continue to live a fulfilling life. They also have alpacas and llamas on site to enrich the lives of their residents. Experience the warmth and comfort of Pine Haven. Call them today at 989-295-6632. That's 989-295-6632. Or you can visit them on their website at pinehavenassistedliving.com. That's pinehavenassistedliving.com for more information. Now, back to the Level Up Life. Let's talk about changes you're making inside the jail.
Okay.
Something like I'm really big on any sort of reform when it comes to incarceration, because I experienced it on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, like, when I spent time in MDOC, you go in there and you have to literally, like, block it out to not learn how to be more of a criminal.
Okay.
I mean, there were guys in there trying to teach me mortgage scams, and I'm like, I don't want to know how to do this. Guys trying to teach me how to cook meth, and I'm like, I don't want to know. That's not something I want to bring out into the world with me, because then when I go back out, I don't. If I'm in a low spot where I'm dope sick or something, if I relapse and get into a spot where I'm dope sick, then, I don't need these tools to break more laws.
Right.
So, I think, like you mentioned, culture within the sheriff's department. I think the same component is to be in jails, right?
Sure.
And you can control the culture of what is the jail actually, the pod you're in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or the cell or whatever.
Yeah. So there's obviously a lot of conversation now, not only locally but nationally, about this topic.
Mm-hmm.
There was that horrific incident that occurred a few weeks ago in North Carolina, on the train, with that gentleman who had just been released from the jail, and arguments about whether or not, he should have ever been released, which I'm not going to dip my toe into that topic because I just don't know enough about the situation to garner an opinion there. But, it's a balance. And, especially when you get into the local county jails versus prison.
Mm-hmm.
As you know, prison, you've been convicted. Part of your sentence is you go to, whether it's MDOC or a prison in another state. Right. The thing that makes the county jail so unique is there are many people in there who are not convicted, who are pretrial detainees, whether they can't make their bond or they have no bond. There are a lot of people in there that are waiting for their due process and haven't been convicted yet. So when I took, the very first week in office, and I knew this before, as part of my campaign and my thoughts about what I wanted to do if I were elected, is be more involved in our jail. And we have some tremendous people that work inside our jail. They do a wonderful job, but not coming from corrections, that was something that I need to drastically improve upon, was everything from A to Z about how the jail works, getting to know our staff more, but then interacting with the inmates, because they are people just like you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly how I view them. You'll never hear me say that there aren't people who need to be in jail because they're a risk to society, because that's true. We have them in our jail. They're in jails all over the country. For whatever reason, I'm not a psychologist or a counselor. There are certain people who, when they are not inside, when they're outside, cannot stay out of trouble, do horrific things. And so there has to be a punishment side to incarceration. But at the same time, I strongly believe, especially in our local jail, that while they're in there, rather than just sitting in there and being bored and being stressed out all the time, is there things that we can do to help them once they are back out into our community become the Adam Wittbrodts. And okay, I learned my lesson. There was accountability for what I did. I'm not the judge. That's the judges and the prosecutor side of things of what punishment, fits what they did. I'm just the keeper now. And, but once you're back out into society, I want you to be a productive, functioning adult and not come back.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I can read articles, watch videos or whatever, but I'm a hands-on person, and I find it way more valuable to be in the pod. I'm in there once a week, interacting, with the inmates, what works, what doesn't work, learning about them, learning about their lives. And I think we've made some headway. We have kind of let the cat out of the bag, break some info here on your show about something that's coming here at the end of the year, which you know about. And looking forward to having you be part of it. Is we're going to open a recovery-based pod within our jail for our local community, where we can house these gentlemen together and let them, help each other, and also bring in, guys like yourself to come in and hopefully teach them some life skills, because there are people in there that have none. They just don't really have any skills right now. And yourself, Buddy Answer, there's a group that we're looking forward to bringing in and interacting and helping them. And I'm not naive to think it's going to be 100% successful, but if we can just start with one person to where we have somebody who can't stop coming in, and all of a sudden they say enough is enough. I like to use the saying, are you sick and tired of being sick and tired? And we can offer help, but until somebody wants to accept the help, I mean, I think you can probably attest to this with your background, that you can be thrown all the opportunities in the world, rehab, whatever, until you decide enough is enough.
Yeah. It was staying there that did it for me. I mean, I've pretty blessed and fortunate with my issues. I mean, had I been sentenced to a lesser time, I still think it would have, because I stayed a night or a weekend, before. But staying there for a little bit more long term, it was enough to.
Yeah, enough.
I ain't coming back. I mean,
Yeah.
I was coming back every 2 weeks, where I know I've said it here on this show before. The one rig manager from Texas at the time, Wazny's the first person in the history of the oil field to be happy to come back to work, because he knew I was trading orange coveralls for blue ones. And it was a long damn year.
Yeah.
I mean, 13 months is what I ended up doing on an 8-month sentence, but that's how long, with good time and everything, it took to complete it.
Well, and I think knowing your story, I think you having a family out there and having kids and a wife and all that made a difference.
Oh, yeah.
Where I know some people in there, like you said, they don't have anything to really look forward to.
Yeah, they need purpose.
Yeah, that's what I needed. And that's how I found it, through fitness and just helping people. So, like, the fact that you're even considering bringing me in there is awesome. Just, we go into the juvenile center, work with the kids there, and just being able to look at these kids and be like, I wasn't in this specific facility. Doesn't mean that I shouldn't have been. When I was your age, I probably should have been. But, like, there's better out there for you guys, no matter what you've been through. This opportunity, when you get out, you have a choice to do it differently.
Yep.
And it's the same thing.
And that's where I am with the recovery pub and my interactions. I know I've gotten to know you the last few years, and your story and your time in DOC, and I send my oldest son to train with you. Yeah. So I don't sit here pretending that I'm some perfect person that hasn't made mistakes in my life. And I think with that, it's easier for me to relate. The people that are in our jail are people, and my job, I can't make it. We're not going to make our jail the Holiday Inn. I don't want it to make it. I don't want it to be a place where, wow, this is really comfortable, and this is a place I want to come back to. But there were some things right out of the gate when I stepped into this position that I felt were reasonable in feedback that I was getting from the guys and gals that were incarcerated in there that needed to be changed, and we've made those changes. And so far they've been successful. One of which is adding additional exercise equipment. Our jail is set up with the pods, and within the pods are these big open areas where you can walk around and do push-ups and stuff. But, you can only do that so much. And so for me, is it safe to attach a pull-up bar to a wall to let somebody, take their stress and knock out additional pull-ups, which will benefit their mental health, physical well-being, versus, letting it build up and they don't have a way to get rid of it. So then we have, unfortunate sometimes consequences and interactions with the jail staff. So that's something that we've changed. And there's some other minor things that we've done as well that I think have been beneficial. And again, being reasonable with them and with the staff in making that a place that there is still accountability, but at the same time, it's not miserable. So that's the balance, really, to get back to what I was talking about, the difference between the county jail and a prison. I've never worked in a prison. I've been in a few times for work-related things, but the jail is just different, and it needs to be treated as such.
You're housing people with misdemeanor offenses and felony offenses, where when you get to DOC, they're all felonies.
Correct.
So there's a big difference between somebody who, has contempt of court for not paying a fine that's serving maybe a week in jail.
Correct.
And a murderer or a rapist.
Correct.
So the gap in the charges, you're housing both of them. And I know when I was in there was classifications, and
Yep.
you have, I think it was E-Pod was more secure than D-Pod, and, and it went down the list. But one thing, when you're talking about making changes, I think about the fact that the quantity of food in there isn't a ton, right?
Right.
It's based on, I think they said 1,600 calories per day. I may be off, but
I'll take your word for it. I don't know off the top of my head.
yeah. So when I was in there, this most recent time, because I wasn't eating, I think I went from 143. I went in, it was June 22nd.
Yeah, you didn't look like you did now.
No, I went in June 22nd, and I ended up going up to Harbor Hall beginning of October. I weighed in. When I got in, it was 143. Got up to Harbor Hall, and I was 173. So that just tells you the state I was in, eating a lower calorie diet. I didn't get store in there.
Okay.
I wasn't smashing like a bunch of Raymonds or anything like that, but I had put weight on. So then I just, side note to that, I think of 2 menu items that I just like, cat head. These are like inmate terms.
I was going to say, I've never heard of cat head.
Cat head and monkey brains.
Oh.
Monkey brains was like the bologna. It was like ground up bologna, and
Okay.
you get a scoop on your plate. Had some green stuff mixed in it. And then cat head was like it was like the size of a cat's skull, right? And
Okay.
I don't know who named it, but
Okay.
it came out, it looked like it was ground beef that came out of a tube
Oh.
on trays. It was just cooked that way.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, in my interactions in there, there's food that they prefer, and there's food that they don't like, and that's contractual. That we work with a company, and they have a dietitian that sets the menu, and so that's where I say it's not going to be Holiday Inn. You're not going to get ribeyes and mashed potatoes, and that's just the way it is. And one thing we're looking at starting next year is an inmate garden, and it could be multi-purposed. I don't know if we'd be able to serve them the things that they grow in this garden, for USDA purposes or whatever, but get them outside, give them a purpose, because again, some of these folks that are in there lack basic skills at all. I mean, and So I don't know if we're able to grow fresh produce and vegetables, that we can then turn around and serve it to them. I don't know. That's something that we're looking at, starting probably next year.
But even, I mean, that's amazing fundraising too, though,
Yeah,
right?
could be.
Like if I knew you guys were doing that, and whether it was drive down off Bay City Road and go in there, because I would do that, because it's going to a spot where, I benefited from it, right? I hated every part of being in there. But as you said, all but one that I experienced treated everybody like a human.
Mm-hmm.
And I was respected. And a lot is that because I gave the respect too. But I would support that for no matter where and what you guys chose to do with the funding. Whether it went back into the jail or just the department uniforms, whatever.
Yeah.
That's something I would definitely do. Go pick up my cucumbers and tomatoes from the law.
So I got that idea from the Shiawassee County Sheriff has done that for years, a garden. And they actually do. They sell the produce locally, and it gives the people that are incarcerated and are going to be there for a while that sense of purpose. It's a skill, from sowing the seed to harvesting, and then they get a kickback from it and I don't know what they do with the proceeds from their garden. They may donate it to a local charity or something, which, that's down the road and something, we could consider, but, it's certainly not something that I think we'd, take the proceeds and, be able to go buy a patrol car. I'd much rather see it, go to, something more purposeful. But again, there's the punishment side to incarceration, which is there for a purpose and has to exist, because there are some people that do terrible things that need to have consequence for their actions. And then there is the side of, okay, did somebody do something that isn't quite as serious, that occurred because of an underlying mental health issue or an underlying addiction issue, which obviously can be a mental health problem.
Yep.
And if so, what can we do to try to help them so they don't come back and make that same mistake?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a balance. And as long as I am, in the position I am in, we're not going to just use the jail as a place that is just centered upon punishment, because again, guys just like you that have done time in our jail in your past, and now we're out, and have a purpose and are making an impact and making it not just with youth, but you guys have adult clients that, you're helping get physically fit and, helps them with their mental health. So that's exactly how I view it. And we're going to proceed with it. And hopefully, with this recovery pod, we see success from it. I think we will. I'm excited about it. I know the stakeholders that are involved in it already are pretty excited about it. So
yeah, that's when I was talking, like having the people around you recovery centered too. Like someone comes in on a drug charge and they're like, I'm so tired of this, and then they see people that they used with, and I know from my personal experience, I was in there, and time I spent in downtown, where I would be in the same cell with people, and they would be, oh, I got this dope stash I'm getting out on Saturday, I'm gonna go get high. That does not impact a person mentally in a positive way that wants to stay clean when they get out.
Yeah.
Then they start thinking, well, yeah, I kind of want to get high too, because I'm telling you, in my first 3 weeks, I was like, I had it in my head. I was planning to get out and get high. I actually went through the whole process of calling down, setting up my own arraignment. Once I found out I had an outstanding warrant, set up my own arraignment, because I had this logic in my head that if I turn myself in, they're going to set a PR bond. So I'll get out right away and I can go get high while I deal with this. So it was just kicking the can, right?
Yeah.
And then they told me I had a pretty large bond, and I was like, I wasn't getting out. But that was for the best.
And you just weren't at that place where you'd had enough, and you were, ready to be done with that life.
Yep.
And yeah,
I think back though, if I would have been put into with my charges, if I would have been put into a recovery pod where there were NA books or I don't know the details behind it, but at least the other people in there were focused on recovery. Maybe there was treatment. I ended up finding out I was getting released to treatment. So I like, what is, they do NA books, they do. So I started talking to people about that. So just that underlying tone within the pod, I can imagine will really just positively impact some people.
Well, and it's not going to be, there's going to be parameters that people have to meet to be able to get put in there. It's not going to be enough that you're a local inmate and you have an addiction problem. Like there's going to be, we're going to have the courts involved with this, and you're going to go there and do the work, or you're not going to be in there. Because there's going to be, the J pod, if you're familiar with that. With that pod, it's a little bit different than some of the other ones in there, and they have to go in there and go along with the program that's going to be put in place. And our soon-to-be captain of the jail, Amy Randall, she's very excited. This is actually more her idea than mine. And, I have said, you have a blank canvas, get the stakeholders involved that you want to have involved, and design it, and let's make it work. And
Amy's been around for a while.
She has.
She always, I remember in the downtown jail,
yeah,
she was always very kind to me, would joke, and that kindness goes a long ways from the deputies. Dan James, who we had on last season, had a very impactfful conversation with Deputy Haruska.
Yeah, Haruska. Yep, he's still there.
About running. And Dan talked about how he talked to him like he was a man, like just another guy.
Yep.
About shoes, running shoes, and Dan would run in the little gym area.
Yeah.
But that small interaction that he had with Haruska made an enormous difference on him. So
yep, and that's where I say it's not us versus you. Our corrections staff have chosen their career, and if we hire them, then they pass the background and everything that entails. But they're not in there with the mentality of it's me versus you. Right. They're carrying out now with me being the sheriff, the directives and vision that I have for the jail. And they know we treat people obviously with respect, but they're human beings, and treat them as such. And unfortunately, there are times when people aren't very nice. They don't follow the rules. They're not very respectful. And then that's when your training takes over and you deal with it. But on a day-to-day basis, we have very few issues in the jail with our interactions on a day-to-day basis with the inmates.
Right.
And I like to think it's because we've hired really good people who can have those conversations. And you have to be careful because, like I said, there are some people that are in there that aren't very good people.
Yeah.
And, you have to be careful to who you engage in conversation with on a personal level. But for the most part, again, you might have, a 20-year-old kid that's in there because he can't stop drinking and driving. Mm-hmm. And he's in there for 6 months or whatever. And understand that kid, when he gets out in the community, may go work for a local business. And, when you bump into him, hey, how you doing? How are things going? And not have it be the opposite. And that's how in 23 years, almost 23 years of doing this, that I felt I have led in my career is, you're a person just like me. You made a mistake. Let's deal with the mistake and move on. And I know it's not always that simple, but again, as long as I'm in this position, that's going to be my approach to it.
Right. Yeah.
So
it's setting people up for to be able, it's empowering them to be able to make changes.
Yeah. And like I said, if I was somebody who thinks, oh, you made a mistake once in your life, it should ruin you forever, I wouldn't send one of my most important possessions, which is, one of my sons, to go work out with you. So I think that's living proof, and you can attest to this. He was going to see you before I was running for office or in this seat.
Yep.
It's
which that meant
people can change.
It meant a lot too, and not just you, but like community wide. And mind you, I've made changes that have earned people's respect back and trust, and it always means a lot when, because of my background, because of all the stuff that I went through, people do you can change, and you can regain trust of family members, friends, community members. Brett Start. Yep. My first time getting in trouble, I wrote him a bad check. He cashed it for me. He had to press charges on me. And since, he didn't understand why. He got involved with 1016, served on the board for, I think, 10 years, then referred me on the board. Like, we rebuilt that trust there. Yep. So, I think it's important for anybody who's struggling to know change is possible. You can rebuild trust. Yep. The future can, I'm not going to run for office, but
I never know.
I mean, I am working on that one thing still. So,
yeah.
You never know.
Never know. I don't like dealing in absolutes. You never know.
Mayor Adam.
Yeah. Never know. Well, I appreciate you guys and what you do and what you bring to the community, and your business, and the kids and adults that you because I know you guys have a wide range of people that you train. It's not all 16 and 18-year-olds working on their beach bodies. You have people in their 50s, 60s, maybe older who have a back problem, that don't want their back to hurt all the time, and stuff like that. So
7 to 82 right now with current clients.
7? Oh, wow.
Yep. Dude, she's a tank, dude.
Okay. Yep. All right, I guess. When is what is the age that you start with your physical fitness? I don't know. You guys are the experts in that regard. But,
well, that has to do with more of like development of the fine motor skills. So how you approach training a 7-year-old is different than how you approach training a 16-year-old, because they just don't have the same control of their body.
Sure.
So that's more of what training the youth, the really young, I would say probably under 13. It's more about like, obviously we're not going to hit PRs with deadlifts and squats and bench, and we're hormonally, they're not on the level to really pack on muscle, but they can perfect movement patterns. So,
well, and how much do you guys think that, here I am to take your questions, but I'm going to throw them back at you a little bit, the impact that you have in terms of somebody's mental health and their confidence, to where you're able to help transform them, to get more physically fit, and then they feel better about themselves, whether it's their appearance or how they feel, just when they move around. So I think you guys are servants as well in that regard. Obviously you're a for-profit organization where I am not, but we're still in the field of service, and so that's how I view the things that you guys are doing. So
I can understand that.
People are the center of both.
Yeah, it's all about relationships, right? And effective communication. And I mean, it's as simple but not as simple as that to me. If I were to show up to you guys 60 pounds overweight, I would expect that you would say you're 60 pounds overweight and that's why your joints hurt. And this is how we're going to fix it.
Yep.
So,
and here's a realistic timeline that you can make that happen.
Yeah.
So
it's not going to happen overnight. Just like, people in recovery, it's a daily challenge. You could be 10 years into recovery, and, every day is a battle in not going back to what you were.
Yeah. And to highlight that, I mean, I have 9 years, over 9 years now. And there's certain events like that would trigger me, right? So I'm like putting this out there. I've talked to Waz about it, talked to my family, talked to my wife. Like, I've experienced death in recovery, but that's part of it where it's like when you get further into it and you can start identifying those triggers, it's like, okay, death is a major trigger for me. So telling people around me, like, hey, if I have someone close to me that passes away,
check
on me.
Yep.
Check on me. Don't let me bullshit you.
Yeah.
Really check on me. So having that sort of dialogue, and then the same thing with, I see with clients where it's like, a lot of the time, rather than it being drugs, it's or chemicals in some aspect, alcohol, it's actually food.
Sure.
That people will lean on, and then that creates weight gain, and it's like, okay, how can we, if that's what got you here with your body composition, how can we not only get you to your goal, but if something happens again, prevent it from happening.
It's weird how it's all interrelated.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really is.
It is, yep.
So, well, I look forward to, we get the recovery pod, have you guys come in.
Oh, dude, I can't
Get
wait.
the guys in the gym.
too.
You guys can, that'll be part of it. Boot
Buddy
camp.
had just mentioned, hey, I put your name in the hat, or he said something about going in the jail. That was like, it was one thing over Facebook Messenger. And I'm like, right on. Had like zero idea what he's talking about, but I was like, cool, whatever I can do. And then you saying that, I was like, what?
Yeah,
Like,
so the cat's out of the bag a little bit. So it's, that's coming.
I'm excited, man.
Probably the
anything
beginning
and
of the year.
everything we can do.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do not hesitate.
Yeah, it'll be, that'll be a big part of it. The physical health and how it relates to the mental health side of things. So, we'll get some experts like yourselves in there to help, teach and hopefully show and see what happens.
Yeah, I know how, without a pull-up bar,
Yeah.
I mean, I might have got an ass chewing or 2 or 10 doing pull-ups on the stairs.
Don't have to anymore. There's pull-up bars in there now. So
Filling up like your pillowcase
Yeah.
in the old jail with books and just
yep. Pull-up bars, on-demand hot water now. When you talk about ramen noodles, that was something that I was kind of
Coffee.
like, because there was a way to get it, as you know, but I thought that there was a more reasonable way. So now that's another change we made. So, yeah.
Awesome.
Well, thank you for coming on, Scott.
Yeah, thanks
Much
for having me.
appreciated. We'll have
having
to
me.
get some coffee sometime, catch up even more.
Yeah.
Thank
Appreciate
you,
it, guys.
Yeah, thank you for tuning in, everyone. Don't forget, like, subscribe, share again. As always, I'm grateful for you.